April 15, 2024, 4 o'clock p.m. Well, it's been a little while. I meant to get to this a lot sooner than I did, and things kept coming up, and I kept pushing it back, and I'll do it next time, I'll do it a little bit later, and it just never came. But I'm finally getting around to the last video here. This is the one where we're going to remove the barrier rings from the water, put them onto, I've got a little cutting board here to sort of take a look at it, analyze how it looks and feels, etc., out of the water. And then I'm going to put them back into their plastic bowls. This one, of course, will be an exception. I'm not going to put this into there because it's probably going to adhere to it. So I'm going to put it back into a regular throwaway plastic bowl instead of something that I might actually use at a later point in time. We had a minor issue, and that was that I kind of wasn't checking in on the bowls. I wasn't exposing them to light and moving them around, and as such, in the dark room just sitting there, a lot of the samples grew mold. Some little spots, some a little bit bigger. This one was exempt because I'm assuming I put different water in. I dumped the old water out and put new water in, so the refreshing might have helped with that. I'm not entirely sure. It could have something to do with the amount of particulates floating in there, but every other sample besides this one does have mold growing on it, so I will have to take the results a little grain of salt. But let's begin. I'm going to be doing jump cuts for these instead of showing you all the cleaning process and stuff like that, because we don't need to make this video any longer than it has to be. So first up will be the Coloplast Brava 12036, and there is the original ring there. And I didn't realize that there was a bunch of water up there, so I'll have to dry that off before I put the next one up. Alright, so we got the Brava. I'll stick it right up here for right now. And that is this guy here. So, I think, I'm not really sure, I just imagined I could pick it up and move it, but the other ones might be a little more difficult. Perhaps I can do something where we drain off a lot of the water from it. I'll have to figure out a better way. Maybe there's a spatula or something I could donate to the cause. Alright, that was not great, but we got it onto the ring. Alright, so it started off with a diameter from center to outside of about 20 millimeters, 2 centimeters. Alright, and yes, I'm going to use centimeters in this video instead of inches because it's just easier to work with. Sorry, I am American, but it's just simpler. Alright, so our diameter was 2 previous to this, and I would say we're at about 5 centimeters. So we saw a 3 centimeter growth expansion of the ring. It feels, I have to keep putting my glasses on and off. There we go. It feels like it's solid. Like I'm not really detecting a whole lot of decay or anything. It is unusually large, but it's maintained its stability. So my thoughts, not the facts, just my thoughts. This ring could be problematic in that the inside diameter has expanded so much it would allow for more skin adhesion. More skin, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure, I guess would be the best word to use. Provided that it doesn't, it does this when it's attached to a wafer, which we may have to do as another test at some point. This was just about the integrity, and as far as integrity is concerned, final verdict is this thing held up really well. It's got smooth edges. It didn't fall apart or have particles in the liquid. So as far as exposure to water, I would be concerned about the enlargement, but the overall integrity of the ring maintained. So I'd say this one did a pretty good job of holding itself together despite its comically large appearance. Alright, I guess getting him back into the bowl is going to be more difficult than I thought it would be. There we go, we'll do like that. Hooray! Alright, pinky's still clean. Pause. Alright, we're back to the next string. With the next string, I should say. We're looking at the Coloplast Brava 120307. That's what the original looked like there. In frame. There we go. Alright. Now this one, fortunately, it looks like the mold kind of grew at the top of the water and not on the ring itself. So I think if I very gently hold this back, I think I'll run some water while I'm dumping this. Just kind of not put a bunch of, who knows what sort of gooey badness is going to occur in my drain. But that's science for you, I guess. Okay. So, this one, the ring has held up remarkably well. Like, I can lift this thing and work with it. Like, it is, gosh, I could even do a close-up. There's the camera ring there. It's still, after all this time, it is still remarkably well put together. There's a tiny bit of fraying on the edges over here and here, but overall, it looks really good. I mean, I'm very impressed with this one in particular. I think it did a fantastic job of maintaining its integrity in the water. The original barrier ring was, oops, that's inches. We're going to stick with centimeters. 15 millimeters, 1.5 centimeters. All right. And then what are we looking at the final diameter here? I would say 23 millimeters. 23, so stick to that. So 15 to 23. So there's a bit of an increase there, and that internal diameter went from being 15, 16, 17, 18. We'll say 17. 17 on the internal diameter. And this one here looks like the internal diameter is about 25. So it came out and it grew out in all directions. As far as the original purpose of this video, did it maintain its integrity in the water? I would say yes. I would say this one did a pretty phenomenal job of maintaining itself. I'm able to patty cake this thing and it's fine. Like, it feels solid. It feels like it's in good shape. Edges are, for the most part, very smooth. Again, that little bit of stretch in the center might be an issue, but I would say this one did a fantastic job of maintaining itself in the there we go, in the bowl. And we'll pause and get to the next one. Okay, so we're on to the next one. This is the Convatec Ekins Cohesive 839005. This is the one where I didn't have the sample because I kind of messed that part up. Whoopsie daisy. But thanks to our global information database, aka the interwebs, I've got this. I don't know if it's entirely visible, but we can see up here that it has a 3 millimeter thickness, 2-inch diameter, and 3/4 inch donut hole. And if we do the appropriate conversions here, 2-inch diameter, is equivalent to 5 on the centimeter scale, and 3/4 inch is right about here. It's just less than 2. It's I looked it up. It's 1.9, but we'll say 19 millimeters on the internal diameter and 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters on the outside overall circumference. Okay. I am not looking forward to touching this thing. Keep you back there. Yep, looks like I had a good guess. Oh, because it was already sticky at the bottom. Of course, that comes in contact with other stick, it's going to stick. Alright. So, I'll show you the bottom of the bowl first. This one, I didn't bother on the other one because it was clear and it never occurred to me, to be honest. But this one, you can definitely see there is a lot of sediment at the bottom where it's broken apart, falling apart and come down. I'm sure the mold probably is a outlier sort of situation and not something that would typically happen with your ring. So this is what we're looking at right now as far as out of the bowl and on dry land. It is pretty rough. I think that fold might have been my accident up here when I was pulling it out, so we'll chalk that up to user error and not something that the ring did. But I can get my glasses up off my head so I can see. There we go. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of deterioration, a lot of breaking apart, very rough, pocketed edges. In the diameter test, its overall diameter, I think it would be more fair to measure maybe this way. It's hard to tell. I'm looking at 5 here, which means it didn't change shape, which wouldn't surprise me entirely. I'll measure from this side here. It's a little less than 5. Internal diameter, we're looking at roughly 19. So as far as changing its size overall, it stayed virtually the same size. It's just the amount of debris at the bottom of that bowl really indicates how much this thing just fell apart in the water. Now, granted, we are looking at extreme circumstances of constant contact with water, but, you know, output, touching it, could also affect it in a similar manner. Not to mention the fact that the stoma itself, at least mine, usually kind of has like a liquid film to it. When I'm doing the change, I'll have to wipe it pretty constantly because it gets sweaty, which I know it's not sweat, but you know what I mean. It has that sort of like fine thing around it, and when you're putting powder on, you don't want a liquid film to get in the way there. But I digress. Point being, I would say the overall quality of this one is pretty. I'm not overall impressed. I wouldn't trust this one personally. But again, this is my opinion, and these are my wacky circumstances, so take that all with a grain of salt. Oh, wait. Alright, next up is going to be the Osteoform FloAssist OFA-M. That is its original look there. This one's open. I think they're all open, to be honest. And see if we can't get this out to take a more accurate reading. It doesn't seem to really want to come out. It's probably from me pulling it out initially. I'm sure they packaged it much better than I repackaged it in there. So we'll just call that user error. You don't want to give them a... So I'm seeing a diameter going across of about... I would put it at about 48 millimeters. And then up and down... Gosh, I really would like to get this thing out. I know you're just so happy inside there, aren't you? And you're gonna come apart like that, are you? Is that how you're gonna do me? Alright, fine. Estimate. Let's say about 55. We'll take that with a grain of salt. 55 and 48. 55 and 48.
Okay. Let's take a look at the big guy here and see what we're looking at. This does have a bit of mold, but I think it's primarily growing on the plastic ring, which is not what I would expect, but you know, that's the awesomeness of science. You don't always get what you want, you get what you get, and that's it. End of story. So, dump that out. Ooh, that is an unusual texture, to say the least. It's almost like a sea creature of some kind. Interesting. Alright. Dry off the old hands real quick. There we go. So, I didn't measure that diameter on the inside circle, which would have been helpful. And we're looking at roughly 25, and then the diameter of just the wing itself, we're looking at maybe 7. 25 and 7 across. Okay, so this was, I don't want to do that, I'll just move the ruler. So 25 going this way, and we're at 50, there we go, 56. So that's pretty much a double in size situation there. And then I measured right about this point here, so don't want to press down on it because that's going to cause it to squish out. Looking at, sorry to block the camera view, but I need to see. Let's say 33 or 34. So that has significantly expanded as, I mean, duh, obviously. As far as its integrity, like how it held up, I'd say it did pretty good. It's got a really unusual texture. Like, I don't even know how to describe this, but I feel like I'm poking a sea creature. Wow. And then as far as like being able to, oh dear. Yeah. It's basically a gelatinous ball of snot at this point. But, yeah, I mean, I would say just based on being able to do that, like, yeah, that's basically pretty blown out. I wouldn't trust this long term. I mean, granted, wacky experimental conditions is what it is. My opinion. These aren't official scientific findings. They're just me seeing what happens, and that's that took no effort at all. I was just like that. If I had done that to that, like, so, I'd be a little bit weary of this one when it comes to exposure to water. Next. Alright, next up we have the Hollister Adapt Ceraring 8805. There is the packaging on that one. Trabian. Let's see here. We're looking at an internal diameter of, I'd say roughly about 15 millimeters. And then 47-ish. 46. Well, I guess really, hold on. I think I'm having a hard time because of the plastic. Let's pull this off for a second and try to do a little bit different. 45, 46, 47. Yeah, 47 or 48 on the millimeter scale there. Internal diameter of 17. All right. So 47, 17. Excellent. 47, 17. Let's take a look at this guy. It has got the mold in it, as most of them do. I'm not even sure I can get this out. to be 100% honest.
Like at this point, it is a cloud of gelatinous something.
I will do my best, but there is no good way for this to occur, I don't think. I don't feel like I should scoop it out with my fingers and set it down and then dump the water. No, I don't want to do that. Alright, dump the water out slowly here. We'll just drop this bad boy off there. Oh, I made it. Ooh. It's like I got snot on my fingers. Okay, now I feel compelled to let this run for just a minute because I don't know what I dumped down my sink. I'm hoping against all odds I didn't just cause myself some costly issues later on. But this one here, there's some sediment on the outside ring of the bowl, but nothing really at the bottom. It just might be because it's buoyant. But there is definitely some sediment involved there. There. And as far as the diameters, like, it's not too bad. I don't want to touch the moldy spot. If we go across this way, it's almost subjective. Like, at what frilly point do I start measuring the edge? I'll start from about here. We'll give it the benefit. Say about 70. I mean, going this way, we're looking at 95. If I measure across this way, it's about, yeah, I'd say 70. That's fair. And then the internal diameter, it was 25. So it definitely saw some enlargement. I don't know about this one. Like, it's got such a feel of, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's practically transparent, and it feels like it's just gonna be mush at this point. Like, it's still kind of holding itself together, but I don't know. Personally, my opinion, I wouldn't trust this one. I don't entirely trust this one. I wouldn't want that one on me. If I was going to be a water rinser, I wouldn't want that on me. But again, wacky results, wacky parameters established for this. So take it with a grain of salt. Just my opinion with my goofy methods. I'm going to see if I can't get it back in this way. More or less what it looked like. Kind of took more of a circular shape at the bottom because the circles, bottom's a circle. Alright, we're down to the last ring. As a statement of transparency, I do personally use this ring, so I'm going to do my best to not be biased, and I feel like I won't be, but just in the interest of transparency, I do use this particular model. We're looking at the Hollister Adapt 7805. There is the original ring. Crack this happy critter open. Take the glasses off, and I'm looking at a total diameter of roughly 47 across. Internal diameter of 15, 16, 17, and then the ring itself about 15 in width. I don't remember any of the numbers I just said. Isn't that sad? Alright. That's promising. Sticking. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Alright. So, let's take a look at this guy here. Actually, as far as like its integrity, I feel like it's actually really pretty solid. It's kind of hard to get a reading because, I mean, I could do that, but I'm going to basically just leave it like that. I feel like that's a pretty solid representation of what it's turned into. So there's a comparison of them again. So the outside was about 15, and this is going to vary a little bit. I'm seeing like maybe 18, 19. I think 19's fair there. And then like right here, I'm seeing like 22. So it's a little uneven, but I feel like that's user error on my part. 22 there. So it's got a little bit of expansion. Internal diameter 15, 16, 17 on this one. And that's kind of an oval shape. Looking at about 20 there and about 12 there. 20 and 12. So as far as the integrity of the ring, this is one I'm actually comfortable picking up and manipulating, like the Coloplast that we had earlier. Both Coloplasts had a really good feel to them when I touched them. They didn't feel like they were goo. The Convatec also had a firm body, but this one is more akin to the Brava, I would say, the 120307 Coloplast Brava. So the Hollister Adapt 7805. Do a close up here. There's not a whole lot of deterioration as far as break apart. Edges aren't smooth. They got a little bit of a texture to them, but I wouldn't say it's blown apart at all. It wants to stick to my hand really bad. That is its nature, isn't it? To stick. This one is doing really well, actually, in my opinion, as far as maintaining its integrity in water, which was the ultimate goal. Did I rinse this out? Oh, I'll rinse this out. There. And then drop down. See, that's on the outside, so I don't know if I touched something else and then touched this bowl and caused that, but that little bit of sediment that I'm seeing is not on the inside. I see some like granule type stuff, so there probably was a little bit of breakage, break apart, which would probably be evident in the kind of little bit of rougher edge, but all in all, I would say this one would hold up pretty well in water, and I can personally attest, having used it for 5 years, that it does, for me, hold up when I do rinses in my bag. So like, I can vouch that this is a good ring to use. I'm not being paid by anyone to promote anything. I'm just saying I've had experience with this one, and it does hold up for me, and the testing would reinforce that statement and say it does a pretty good job of maintaining its shape, maintaining its size, maintaining its integrity. I would say well, hold on. Okay, final thoughts. I've arranged them in what I feel is the ranking of what I feel, in my opinion, is best to worst. The Coloplast Brava 120307 and the Hollister Adapt 7805. I would be very comfortable using either of those in my bagging system and rinsing with water. I would not have any issue using either of those. The Coloplast Brava 12036, the enlargement concerns me. Like, the amount of liquid this thing sucked up was pretty intense and almost comical in a way. So I would be a little less like, if these weren't available, this would be my next choice. Next down the line, I would put the Convatec brand of Eakins Cohesive I have not been saying Slims, but to be fair, this is the Slims variety. 839005. It really broke apart. There was a lot of particulate in the water. There's a lot of pieces, debris at the bottom of the bowl. A little bit on the sides too. This one would be pretty shaky. I don't know if I would be comfortable at this point putting water in with this one. The Osteoform Fluocyst OFA-M. I couldn't even get it back into its original shape. Like, that's as good as it's going to be, and it's just I wouldn't not with this one. I wouldn't use water. And then the Hollister Adapt Ceraring 8805. Same deal. Like, I'm doing the same thing I did to the other one. It's stretching out a little bit, but it's not like reacting in the same way. But just the amount of like how frayed it is on the edges and how transparent it looks. I don't know that I would trust this one in water. So that is my overall findings. This is my attempt at scientific method. The beauty of science is that other people can do this and replicate the results. So I highly encourage anyone else out there that has time and patience and a way to pull it off to acquire rings. Do the same kind of experiment. Alter it. Maybe you're saying, well, you know, if you had done this differently, it would have been better. Great. Redo the experiment. Do it differently. If you think something else would work better. This was just my initial concept of an idea. I would love to see anyone else try to do this experiment as well. Maybe you can gather different rings. At the very end, I had this idea like I should have gone forward into the group and maybe crowdsourced people's rings and gotten a larger sample. So, you know, if I were to make a second video, I would probably go that route, but that's something that you could consider doing as well with this. So, yeah, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the fact that you made it all the way to the end here. Thank you very much, and have a good day.